Hello, this is Lynn with Stitched Anew. Had some issues with my introduction for this video today, so I thought instead I'd show you guys some of our ending slides at the beginning of the slides. This multiplying bunny project did not turn out the way I thought it would, but I thought you guys might enjoy this video anyway. So please enjoy. For this project, I'm going to take my bunny squares, 2.5-inch squares, and my background squares, 2.5-inch squares. Sew them together. I'm going to sew all of the squares I have together. And I am going to make the backing for my table runner. So my table runner was 14 inches wide. So I'm going to keep working on these until I get a little bit more than 14 inches wide, so that it will be wide enough when I quilt it that I won't have to worry about the backing being too short. And then my length was, I think it was 48 inches long. I will have to double check that. But I'm going to put these together and see how many columns I could make of these, alternating the bunny squares and the background. And then I will make up the strips between these, and then I do have some more yardage of the background squares if I need to fill in to make the backing for my table runner. So I'm going to get started sewing background squares and my bunnies together and see what I can come up with. I've got all of my 2.5-inch bunny squares sewed to one of the polka dot background fabrics. Now I'm going to take them all to the iron and press them so that the seam goes to the dark, which is the bunny fabric, and then that way I can nest them when I'm going to put these together. So I will meet you back here once I have ironed all of these blocks. Okay, just in case you had not seen our other project, this is my project box number 2, project 2.1. So the baby quilt was the first. This was the second project with these jelly roll strips I had. So I made the quilt with the 2.5-inch, I made the table runner with the 2.5-inch squares, which finished at 2 inches square. Move these to the side. And I added a 1.5-inch border around the edges because when I bring the binding around, I didn't want it to be over top of my squares. So I added a border. So with this, it measures 16 inches wide by 39 inches long. So what I'm trying to do is make a backing for this quilt that's going to be a little bit bigger than 16 by 39 so that I can quilt it. So let me move this one out of the way. And I have taken all of the squares that I had left over and sewed them with so they were all 2.5-inch squares, sewed them to a 2.5-inch background of my 4 different fabrics. So what I'm going to do now is just play around laying them out. So I know these squares will finish 2 inches, will be my finished size. So I need to go probably 9 squares wide, and then 39 by 20. Well, let's do 9 squares wide and see how many I have. So I don't have enough to do an entire new quilt. Matter of fact, there's a lot more of this one and this one than these two. So I'm going to see what I can come up with, how I can mix these up to come up with something on the back. So let me play around. All right, I've made a decision. We are not going to do an after project. We're going to do a third project. I had no idea just how far these jelly roll strips would go. I have enough jelly roll strips to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have enough jelly roll strips to do 11 long by 8 wide. I can add 3 strips to the top and another 3 strips to the bottom, and I've got another table runner project from these same jelly roll strips. But that will use up all the jelly roll strips I have, and I will be done with them. So I can actually empty this box. So I am going to sew my pairs together. As you saw in the sped up video, I took my ones where I was trying to do 9 across, separated them here, and moved the background to the other side. So I need to sew these together. So I'm going to be sewing the rows together, then the columns together, and I'm going to add a background, this bunny fabric, because I have extra of that, and the background in that order, top, and then again here at the bottom. And that should give me 16 inches wide by 34 long. And that should give me a pretty good size table runner. So let me sew all that together and then I'll get back with you. Okay, so move down. Here are those pieces. Ooh, that one came too. I sewed background, the bunnies background. I've got one at the bottom and one for the top. And then I sewed each of the rows together. Now I need to sew each section together. And I'll have a second table runner. These bunnies just keep multiplying and multiplying. So let me sew the rows together and I will meet you back. Alright, I've sewed all the rows together. I have not ironed it yet. Let me give you a look. So there's those end pieces I added. The center. There's the top. Looking at this, I think once I iron it, since I have the background on the end, I do think I'm going to add it on the side again. So just like on the other one, when the binding comes over, instead of coming onto the blocks, it will come onto the background and won't interrupt that pattern that's going on. So I'm going to iron that. I'm going to cut 1.5 inch piece, just like I did on the others, of this background fabric, and cut a piece the length of this. After I iron it, I will measure it and see what the length is, and I'll put 1.5 inch piece on this side, 1.5 inch piece on this side, the whole length, and then project 2.2 out of this bunny box that keeps multiplying will be done. Oh my goodness, we got multiplying bunnies and multiplying bunnies. What was supposed to be one quick what's in the box project. Come here, Lady Gear. She wants to be here for the reveal too. So what was going to be a quick what's in the box, make a baby quilt and be done, has turned into 3 projects, which I never would have thought from the amount of jelly roll strips that were in the box. So we started with baby quilt number 1, table runner project number 2, and what was just going to be the back of the table runner is now its very own table runner. So as you'll notice, this is all of the leftover jelly roll strips cut into 2.5-inch squares with a background square in between. I've done rows here of the background, the extra bunny that I had, background, and then I did 1.5-inch strips here on the sides. The table, this table runner, finished at 19 inches wide by 34.5 inches long. We are done. Let me get my box. Box number 2. All I have left is the blue background and 3 of those 4. Sorry, baby girl. 4 of those jelly roll strips that I'm going to fold into squares and put on the shelf of my jelly rolls. And this box will be empty. Hallelujah. So from 1 project to 3 projects, but the box is going to be empty. So next video, new project, we are all done with the multiplied bunnies. So thank you guys so much for following along on our bunny trail and our What's in the Box series. So as always, give us a like and subscribe. It really does help our small channel. And Lady Girl and I really do appreciate it.